We are live in the Dr. Ben Quist Dome, and we join Dr. Ben Quist on a quality of life quest with a zest for the quest of life of quality for both internal and external, interior and external. The whole thing, the whole package
The
is
whole
with
thing.
Dr. Ben.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely. Welcome, Dr. Ben Quist.
Yeah, thank you. Oh my gosh, that's such a pretty good.
You're a big dude. You're a big time dude. We got to make sure we intro you.
Right. Yeah.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. How's your extended summer going?
Pretty good. Yeah, I'm actually going to be going out and golfing a little bit here after I talk to you. So,
You're a golfer?
not really. My wife forces me to do it, but
Oh yeah.
I
Good.
make her happy. Yeah,
That's important, Ben.
it is. It is. It's
Take it from a divorced guy. That's very happy. That's important.
it's a very important. Do an entire segment on that. That's my topic for today.
Okay.
For
What
today.
what would you like to cover today, Dr. Ben?
I wanted to talk just a little bit. We did it was actually a really good episode we did this week. It was on forward head position. So, I know that sounds like super boring to your listeners, but it is the number one postural deviation that most people have. And usually, when you look at someone, you go, "Gosh, their posture's really bad." That's usually what you're seeing. Or if you look at someone, you're like, "Wow, they have really good posture. That person really stands up or sits in a great position." You're usually seeing them having a very good position of their head over their shoulders. So that's was the topic of our kind of like our YouTube episode this week, where we have some correctives in there for how do you get your head into a better position over your shoulders. And the topic for today is it is so amazing to me how much impact proper posture has on someone's ability to not get injured and not degrade their joints over their lifetime. So we talk about posture and we say, okay, well, we do it just to like not look slouchy. Like it doesn't look good to look, like there's some aesthetic reasons why you might want to have good posture, but really in my mind, it is the 100% most effective thing you can do to really help your joints over time. Because from my standpoint as a licensed physical therapist, I have really seen that a lot of the injuries that occur, a lot of the arthritis that occurs, is many times people are doing things in their joints when they're in bad positions. That's usually when the bad stuff happens. So I'm big on posture. I think it's super super important.
Well, a couple of things on what you just said. First of all, when I exercise, your trainers make sure you're in the right posture, and it makes a huge difference when you're exercising. But where you spend a majority of your time is not with someone there watching you, making sure that you have good posture. And it happens, I think you guys did an excellent job in the episode about showing how easy it is in today's world with all the devices and everything. We're all leaning forward a lot more than we realize.
Yep.
And nobody's there to tell you, hey, you're constantly doing it. So you're right on this one for sure.
Yeah, totally. And I have always, as a personal mission that I have for myself, but also for my clients and for our members here at Form Fitness, we have a never hunchy mission, where we're attempting to have everyone stay tall because it's funny. I work with so many people who are in the kind of older categories, the plus 50s, the plus 70s. I have a lot of clients that are even plus 80 years old, and one of the things I consistently hear from them is I don't want to slouch. I don't want to start to hunch over, and that is so prevalent as we age as human beings. And even my own mom, who's 81, like she's, I want to stay tall, so it becomes a very important thing. So even if some of your listeners are 30 or 40 and they're not slouchy yet, you know, it's something that's coming for you if you aren't doing some things actively to try to keep your posture in a good position.
Right. Exactly right. And especially me, I have a huge head. But even the person,
Yes.
even people who have an average size head, how much did you say that a head weighs typically? A normal size head?
Pounds. Yours must be. You may be clocking a good 25 pounds at
I am. I am. I'm a double. I always go for a double. Um,
that.
but when I read that, I could even as soon as I read that or saw that, I went, oh, I instinctively put my head up.
In relation to your neck. So the neck is one of the areas where it is very common for people to experience pain in that part of your spine, your cervical spine. So typically it's from either arthritic changes in the joints or the openings in the bones of the cervical spine, or it's from injury to the discs or the nerves in that area, or a combination of both. And it's funny, like you can even, if I took, I wish I had my skeleton here, I can show you this, but if you take the head and you push it back over the cervical spine so it's sitting where it's supposed to, you can see all the openings where the nerves come out of the spine, open and get bigger. Like you can see everything align better. So like when you're doing things where you have this big weight, in your case 25 pounds, in my case 12 pounds, get out over your body and putting it in a really bad position, and then you're rotating, you're doing stuff, or you're just letting gravity push down on the weight of the head on the cervical spine. Over time, that creates damage. And the scariest thing is that if you leave it for decades, sometimes you can't reverse it. So you usually always make it a little bit better, but sometimes you can't reverse it all the way. So it's better to start thinking about these things in your 30s, 40s, 50s versus waiting till you're like 75, and it's like, okay, well, it's going to be much more challenging to kind of fix this at this point.
Sure. And Ben, isn't it like, no matter, say it's your size and it's 12 pounds, but isn't it, when you lean forward, doesn't the force on your neck and stuff increase? More than 12 pounds of force, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's simple lever mechanics. Like the further the head gets out in front of the body, the more force it's going to put back in the neck, right?
Right.
Yeah, 100%. So that's why, getting that head back into proper position is so important. So just for anybody that's watching this, you need to basically, the position that we all want to strive for is to get your ear basically directly in line with your shoulder, the bottom of your ear tip. So and don't feel bad if you can't do that right away, because many times you got to do some loosening and some stretching and some strengthening to kind of be able to get your head back into that position.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're striving for. So you might want to have a friend take a picture of you when you're standing from a side view, and then you can look at yourself and go, okay, where is my ear sitting in relation to my shoulder? And if you find that your ear is 5 inches in front of your shoulder, you have some work to do.
Yep. The other thing that's great one thing that's great about this is it doesn't take it's just you can do this. You can work on this yourself. Anybody can, right?
Yeah.
You don't need any equipment or anything like that.
No, the drills are pretty simple. And we outlined, I think we have a 4-step approach we do.
Yep.
And it starts with like loosening up some of the muscles that get really tight when you're in that position. That step is kind of like, that's one where a lot of people leave that out. But if you want to make it most effective, you would do that, and then you work on chin tucks, which is like, or stretching. There's a stretch position where you can just grab your chin and pull on the back of your head and kind of pull up. And you can feel this stretch happen all the way down through your cervical spine. So that's a great stretch. And then you actually work on chin tucking, which is pulling your chin directly back towards your body, almost trying to create like a double chin. And once you pull it back there, then you hold it there and kind of squeeze those muscles that are causing that motion to happen. Try to strengthen a little bit, but you have to loosen first, then you strengthen. So
yep.
It's a procedure. But yeah, most of that you can do when you're driving your car. It's not that hard to do.
Sure. And even if you had said in the email, like went with it, if you're sitting a lot, so I would think even standing up for a few minutes, you could help just break up. You shouldn't sit that long for a number of reasons, this being one more of them.
Yeah, no, human beings were never meant to have chairs. Like that was a bad idea. So human beings historically have always crouched, and they have stood, right? I mean, they weren't, or they're sitting on their butt on the ground. Like no one was sitting in like a chair, and it's so weird. The research on sitting is really interesting. And there's been a lot of study on that. And there's that kind of thought process of like sitting being the new smoking. And it really kind of is like, it's an independent predictor of death as far as how you sit. So you could even be someone who is very exercise oriented. You do an hour of exercise a day, but then you sit the rest of the day. There's something about that position that causes the body to say no thank you. And so I always think of like my butt as my death button. So I try to button. very often. I just try to stand more often. I try to move more often. If I'm at a sporting event for my kids, I very rarely bring the chair. Everyone's in the chair, and the chair, those chairs with the big swing in it, and then they're really slumping because the chair has no support at all.
Right.
You're sitting in it, and they look like a giant C shape. If you put your body in those positions on a regular basis, your body will adapt. The ligaments will shorten, the muscles will shorten, other muscles will get stretched out and weak. It's pretty amazing. The body will be like, okay, I guess we're just going to be in this C-shaped position forever, so we're going to adapt to this. But you just don't want that to happen. So
that's one I'll never forget. My butt is the death button. That
don't press your death button.
Yeah.
There was one study, I'll never forget this one. It was a really interesting one. You're like, okay, well, if you sit a lot, but then you do an hour jog every day, that's got to be enough, right? You got your 10,000 steps in, you're all set, but it still is a good predictor of death. You're helping yourself with the jog, but the sitting is still like a detrimental component. And I don't think sitting is as bad as smoking for you, but it's definitely up there.
Yeah.
Wow. In the top 10 for sure.
Wow. All right. Oh, my neck hurts when you're talking about it. I'm going.
No, I know. I especially got to make sure you're in good position. I got to make sure we keep that.
Well, I do think about it because I know I did slouch. I did. I've been working on it actively, but you forget if you're not trained in it. So it's not that big a deal, but you still got to do it, right?
You got to do it, and it's easier to just slouch and hang on your ligaments. Not use any muscles to do anything. That's kind of an energy conservation thing that people do, where they'll just let everything hang, and that's just not good. So even like in a sitting position, you don't have to have your body against the back of the chair, right? You can have it forward from the chair, and then you always want to think of a lining. I call it lining up your dots. So there's a dot at the tip of your ear that should line up right with the center of your shoulder. Your shoulder should be directly over your hips, and then you're in a good position for the human body. You can make those sitting positions even a little bit better by doing that.
I love lining up the dots. The visuals are so, once you put it like that, it's so much easier to, where do I go? Just line it up.
You just line them up. Yep. So, and, sometimes it's hard to see if you're doing it yourself. So a friend can help you with that. But in the videos we do, we always pop a straight line on the screen so you can kind of see what it's looking like. And because sometimes it's hard to see, am I hunching? Am I not hunching? What's going on? But I will tell you, I would say out of the thousands of clients and patients that I have eval'd over the years, 90% of them have forward head, forward shoulder. So it is a very rare individual that comes in nowadays where that isn't the case. And it's
really
texting, sitting, computers, video games, watching movies, TV, couches, slouchy chairs, like all that stuff.
Wow. Everything you said, you're sitting, you go to a movie, you're sitting for 2 hours or hour and a half.
Yep.
You have to reprogram yourself. If you're reading a book, you need to stand and read, right?
Possibly. I mean, you just want to pick your battles. So when you go, I always think of my kids' sporting events. So when I go to the sporting events, do I have to sit during these? Absolutely not. I can stand. I can see better. I don't have to sit. Or at work, I think standing desks are awesome. And they're very cheap now on Amazon. You can standing desks. You can put on top of your desk that you have at home and just pop it up for when you need to use it in standing, and slide it back down when you need to use it in seated. So. Just picking your battles and trying to sit less, because it's so woven into the fabric of our society now. It's impossible to get away with.
Right.
But and I also think it's really good for people to crouch every once in a while. That's something that people can't get into. Many people, your joints have to be flexible and have to be able to move the full range of motion to get into a crouch position. But it's really good. It's a really good stretch for your hips and your ankles and all that stuff.
So if someone would start crouching like me, how long would you say to hold the crouch?
Well, first of all, if you're going to start to crouch, so you want to get the idea of what you're doing with crouching. If you were trying to have a bowel movement in the woods, you would get right. So you're all the way down. That's what I was told. I would never do that. It's like that's what I do when I'm like, okay. But anyways, yes, first we can make sure you're not having pain in that position. So if you get down and try to crouch and your joints can't handle it, don't do it. You might have to loosen some other things up first. But if you're able to get into the position, you just feel like it's tight, then it's a really great position for you to just stretch in. And then you would be in that position for 60 seconds or so, Jack. You know,
Okay.
Yeah.
Because in my work, I do a lot of photo shoots or video shoots, and there's a lot of standing around. And
Mhm.
standing around is fine for a while, but if you're doing it for like 4 or 5 hours standing in one
Yeah.
spot, man, like your feet start, my legs start. I'm like, oh, I'll take sitting breaks then.
Yep.
But what do you recommend for something like that? Just walk whenever you can instead of standing still.
Yeah, I mean, you may go. I mean, from what you're doing with your work requirement, you may be someone who isn't sitting quite as much, and then it's not as big of a deal. But it's more so that you don't want to have those long, prolonged periods of like I'm at work and I've just sat for 8 hours straight. You know, like that's where it becomes really problematic.
Hmm.
But on the flip side, like you don't have to be standing for 8 hours either. You know, so you know,
Right.
take some sit breaks. You know, stretch your calves. You know, like walk around a little bit. You know, like all that kind of stuff. Because the body does as we age, you know, things don't move quite like they did. Your feet start to hurt and like all that kind of stuff. So
Right.
got to work around that. Do your best.
Right. And I know it's a whole other subject that you could launch into for days, but um, the more I learn, the more I realize if you're having a pain somewhere, it's not necessarily that's the problem. Like if you're having a back pain, it could be your quads or something, or your hamstrings.
Yeah, that's totally true. Yep. There's lots of times when it's something somewhere else that is causing the problem. You know, yeah, pain can be referred, and yeah, that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah.
But posture, certainly having good posture really helps with people's pain, because when you are in poor posture, you're putting everything under a lot more stress. So it just alleviates some of that. And it's really interesting to me that over the course of time, many of the strategies that I've used to help people get out of pain have simply been getting them back into better posture. It's like, wow, is that all it takes? Just get the things aligned a little bit better, and so
Right. Almost too simple to be believable that helps. But
one of the main techniques we use in physical therapy is try to get the joints aligned back in the regular position so that you can get better without pain. So, yep.
and if you're standing in correct posture, you fool your mind. You look more confident. You are, your mind will follow. You can trick your mind into that too. Right before
Yep.
you go to a meeting, do a Superman pose or something. Um, there's no uh, bad parts about improving your posture. There's no drawbacks at all.
Absolutely not. Yeah. Yep. No, there is definitely there is a mental connection to the way you hold your body as well. There's the defeated posture versus the proud posture versus the and you definitely feel better when you're upright and you're in a good position. So the problem comes that some people let it slide so much that they simply can't get back into good posture even if they try, and that's where they need to get a professional like myself involved, and I can
Mhm.
usually within 30 minutes, here are the 2 stretches you need to do every day for the next month, and you can fix this, but it doesn't take that long to fix most of the time if it hasn't gone on for too long. But sometimes there's some stretching that's to happen before you can even get things
Yeah.
back in the correct positions.
Yeah. So I have to ask you, when you're at one of your kids' games and you're pacing the field and not sitting, and all these parents are all slouching into these terrible chairs with their coffee in there, do you ever say to them, "Hey, I got to tell you, you're killing yourself. You got to
I,
stand up"?
I never say anything. I never give any unsolicited advice ever. So that's why it's so nice to come on your show. I can just give advice.
Yes.
Solicited. But it's funny. I would say probably 20% of the parents stand the whole time, and the other 80% are in those slouchy chairs.
Yep.
And every so often, if I've had a really hard Friday night, I maybe lucky chair myself as well. But there's circumstances that happens.
And it's really, we were talking before we came on just briefly about how nice the weather is right now. But as the weather gets colder, and it's going to get colder, the slouching is more natural too. I mean, you're more hunched over against the cold. You really have to be cognizant of that.
Yeah. Yep.
Ultra cognizant.
Totally. And the video that we sent in the email where we had the gooseneck, which is my term for forward head, and then hunchy is my term for bad shoulder position. But the hunchy video has some really good drills that are just correctives for overall posture through your entire upper body, where those are kind of like we've talked about this before, like a daily mobility routine.
Yep.
Just to get you upright, get your spine working correctly. But Hunchy has some really good ones in there. And I'm going to be starting to do some more material like that. Like if you have 10 minutes in the morning, this is what you should do to get your spine ready for the day. You know, because I think people like to do those kind of follow along things. Here's the 3 things you should be doing. So.
Yep. And I would say that of all your videos and all the things that you've brought up, the word I hear just among people just in conversation is hunchy. I hear it around the gym, people saying, "Oh, you don't want the hunchy," you know, that has caught on. That is a very descriptive term that is just a sticky term for you. So that's a good one.
No, we try to come up with some interesting terms like sticky hips for hip mobility, and it helps the videos. You know, it's funny, the videos that we've done that with have gotten massive amounts of views, tens of thousands of views, but the ones that are a little more boring don't seem, although I thought Gooseneck was a pretty good video and it's not getting any plays on YouTube. I'm kind of pissed. So everyone has these forward head positions. They got to fix it.
Yeah. Well, I think maybe it's because people don't believe they have it,
I don't know. It is the number one most common postural deviation though, is forward shoulder, forward head. So those 2 kind of go hand in hand, and they're incredibly. If you're not doing something to fix it or being aware of it, you have it. So.
Right. All right. Very cool. I wanted to ask you something completely off topic, if I could. Yeah. Where was it? Where is it? Oh man. I wrote it down before you came on. Oh well, we'll catch it next time. But that is such a what you brought up in your topic this week is something that I can't say it's impossible to say it's not important. It is so important. It affects everyone, every single person.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it does. Yep. So that's why that's one of the main things we do with the trainers is try to, first and foremost, no matter what the client's goals are, we always have goals to get back into good posture.
Oh yeah, great. I found it. It's not, and you're gonna like this.
Oh,
there's enough for you to say, "Oh no." I wanted to tell you, I'm excited about your back to school challenge that you guys have going on. If you want to talk about that at all? I know you're doing it off the cuff, but I think it's really cool.
So we have a back to school challenge here at Foreman Fitness Grafton, where it is basically little homework assignments that people have each day, something related to your health, and none of them are like super, super challenging, but I believe it runs for, 2 months.
Yep. 60 days. Yep.
It's free. So, if anybody wants to be a part of that or it's an email that comes each day with a health tip or something that you should do for your health. But it's kind of like, for all of our parents and even non-parents here at Foreman Fitness, like it's a little homework for them since school started back in. So,
yep.
So, that one is, I believe, has it started yet?
No, it starts beginning of October. The sign up, the stuff just went out to sign up. So I signed up for it, and
good.
Yeah, it's something that's got people talking too. They're like, "Ooh, I don't know." Sounds so. And Jeremiah's like, "It's good, but it's not impossible. So don't kill yourself over it."
Yeah, been coming up with lots of ideas for the homework. So,
but excellent job. I have to compliment you and your team about coming up with fun and inventive ways to incorporate things rather than just say, "Don't do this" or "Do this." Make it part of it. Everybody likes a challenge, right? Got to try it.
That's the deal. You got to keep trying new things, keep it fresh. So we actually have one for Thanksgiving coming up too. We're a zero gain challenge. We're going to weigh in at the start of November, and we're going to weigh in at the end of November. And it's $20 to participate in that one. But if you don't get any weight, you get your $20 back. And if you do gain weight, we donate the $20. We match it with another $20, and it's all going to we're gonna probably do it at the food pantry or something like that.
Nice.
So I think that'd be a funny one to do.
Excellent. Good. Great. Looking forward to it.
Yep. All right, man. Well, you have a wonderful weekend.
Yes, I will have a very straight-backed weekend. I'll have my huge head back over my shoulders from point to point. So I'll be thinking about you, Ben. I'll be going, Well, have a great day golfing. It's going to be warm, but it's going to be cool soon enough. So enjoy the warm. Sounds like you got a good plan for today. So great, cool. Well, thanks.
I'll see you next week.
Great. Thanks a lot, Ben.
Bye.